Azami is good, like really, really good, and you should be playing her in your ranked games, provided she isn't banned out. Hello everyone and welcome to today's demo review, and yes, we're going to be looking at Azami, and honestly, I could probably make a whole series of videos looking at her and the almost limitless possibilities you have with this operator. We'll start off though with something somewhat simple, North American League, Playday 1, Oxygen and Parabellum, and we see a really intriguing hold over towards arcades. Let's jump into the demo and have a look. Here we are inside of the demo then, and we're going to be watching this one from the perspective of Blaz, the Azami, in this round. Parabellum defending over towards the dorm side of the map, the western side upstairs, and Oxygen will be looking to deal with this setup. Bit of context required, of course. This was the first Playday. Also meant that Azami was in play for the first time as well without a quarantine period. So there was quite a lot going into this first Playday. Now, first thing to keep in mind is that we're quite deep into the prep phase now, into the action phase. Blaz still isn't just spamming his barriers around. He's actually going to try and preserve them as much as he can throughout the round. Now, much like Wamai, for example, Azami is a character where you are going to get the most value from them the longer you stay alive, because that util is regenerative. It's not like a Jaeger, for example, where you can set, forget, roam, and have a bit of fun and success elsewhere. First, barrier gets put on arcade stairs, so this will just put a little bit more pressure on this position. You can get better angles down below in towards bottom arcade, and if the attack end up getting control of the stairs and you find yourself here for some reason, still try and keep playing off that. Second one placed here on the arcade unit closest to the window. So this will just allow the Azami or whoever wants to post up in this position to be better protected from the window. That cuts off a lot of the line of sight now into the actual balcony hallway now, and can be counterpicked by the Azami too. I don't think it provides too much coverage towards the door though, in towards sight, so just something to keep in mind. ADS device is also going down there from Kool-Aid, just to offer some more protection, projectile denial, and we see, we'll go back a little bit here, we actually see a really, I guess it's somewhat common, I don't really know how common it is. I know that at probably a plat level and above, teams and players will know about this position, but maybe in lesser ranks they don't, and that is through the drone hall here in arcade. It's actually not very well blocked off by the fire extinguisher in front of it. You can go prone here and find drones, and sometimes you can even find attackers' feet out there and light them up if they're not careful as well, and that's what he does here to just deny Oxygen a little bit more information, and they've lost a couple of drones now as well. Another thing Blaz is doing is flicking defaults as required. He's in a really safe position, so he can check this arcade camera, for example. Once that goes down, he knows he needs to be a lot more mindful of pressure down below. Always a threat of a potential Nook, for example, to sneak past, but pretty unlikely. And he'll post up again at the drone hall, trying to deny entry of that information. And you can see the drones are making it through. He sees it, he'll probably call that out. And Parabellum, I think at this point, will start to be very prepared and conscious that cafe control is what Oxygen want in this round, and they'll have to deny it. At this point, two barriers. Oh, that's bad for the ears. Blaz had two barriers, uses them consecutively to just fortify this position, and that's off the back of the drone cues, pretty much highlighting that big red flag to Parabellum saying, hey, we're Oxygen, we're going to push from this position. Barriers are in place now to slow that down. Again, flicks defaults. This barrier here offers good protection from Cafe Double. If we go to Dream's perspective, you can see it makes this very awkward. I guess it might be a potential one-way. That's something you have to be really careful about with keeper barriers. If you do place them a little bit high, if Dream, for whatever reason, wants to go prone here and actually look under the barrier here, towards the bottom of the archway near the ADS device, for example, and Blaz gets caught out and swings, he's going to see that angle. Dream will see that angle a little bit a one-way. So probably just something to be mindful of. Although I don't think it's going to be too costly. More drones being cut down. So just doing a really good job. Very typical power position mindset here from Blaz. Now has a final barrier to go. I believe it's his final one. Smoke canisters also being used to aid him from penguins. That again is well played. And now Blaz is kind of considering his options. Does he put a second barrier down on this one here, keep in mind you can actually stack keeper barriers, something that I think a lot of people overlook. You can stack them on top of one another. Does he place it there to try and cut out the angle from the window and make that entry a little bit more difficult? We already just saw a flash there of the danger that it does pose. Or does he play it here on the one that's already pre-placed, which makes the sort of transition from cafe into top arcade more challenging from that position. So it's a bit of a juggling act that he has to play here, and he doesn't have too long to make a decision, but uses his time wisely. Just plays patiently. Dream pushes out, gets lit up, probably called out by the team. Also some pressure down below. Blaz maybe got a little bit lucky there. He did pick that perhaps in an unfavorable manner. We'll see it from Foxay's position. Both players kind of got a little bit time there. Maybe if Foxay is pre-holding the angle onto the stairs, Blaz dies. Sometimes that happens. 50 seconds now left. There we go. Blaz uses his final keeper barrier. And this one will block off that entry point. I really do doubt that you can actually get through that if you can squeeze through that as an attacker. And even if you do, that's a choke that you don't really want to take on. Now, the other thing to keep in mind throughout this round is Oxygen and their grenade usage was not primarily on the keeper barriers. And if they weren't effective. You can see Verticals used both of his, Foxay as well. Sophie is now dead. No Habana available. You only have flashbangs, and that's not going to be ideal. Obviously, you can come across and melee them, but they're placed in such a way that getting to them is very, very difficult. So, with 40 seconds to go in the main advantage, Parabellum, if I had to give it a number, at like an 80% win chance here. They're in a really strong spot. See though how Blaz closes it out. Aggressive over towards the window, makes a play. Don't mind that. Obviously, if he dies there on the cross, it does put a bit of pressure on the rest of his team, but the setup's there for a 4v4 to still be 70% favorable, whatever the case may be, 60%. Instead, though, he makes the cross, he times his opponent on the window, well done. Dream, inside of Cafe, is going to have no idea he's here. So if that player or any player pushes out of Cafe double, they're going to be in a lot of strife. And with 35 seconds to go, Oxygen do need to make a move off the back of Lexing getting that pick. The call's going to come through. That's exactly what they need to do. Util goes out. The flashbang's not particularly effective. Well played by Blaz. Gets the peek onto Dream. Now needs to be careful of the window, and that's immediately what he's afraid of. That player posted up on the window. Lexing as well, looking for the pinch. 2 versus 1. Let's see how Blaz plays it out. Gets the first around to Lexing, who, again, because of the key barriers, is being forced into that choke point, forced into an awkward position, and perhaps could have synced it with the vault in from the window, but think our minds back to the other barrier. That's making the vault in really difficult. So everywhere Oxygen go to try and deal with this, it's really just not looking good for them. Window now being pressured. That's Vertical out there. Foxay gets a pick elsewhere, so Parabellum just have to be a little bit careful. Blaz gets a little bit brazen there, peeking over towards Kids, and does get lit up from the window. We'll watch that from Vertical's perspective, just to see how awkward this specific angle actually is. We'll go back a little bit here, and you can see it's actually a really fine angle, so you have to time your shot really well. And even with the ARX, still can't quite get enough body shots there to get the pick. So small misplay from Blaz, but his earlier work makes up for it. Now left in the 3 versus 1. No time for OXG. And overall, really, really well played by Blaz and the rest of Parabellum around that setup. Now, would this necessarily hold up as well today at the end of Stage 2 with teams having a lot more experience facing Azami? Perhaps not. We've seen Habana be a really good counter. We've seen util usage improved across the board. So it might not. However, like I alluded to a little bit earlier, in ranked, this is going to work well. If you play your life and you play into the util and you have some pressure over towards Cafe double, you make sure that you don't get flanked from down below. This position, in my opinion, is going to be really, really, really difficult to break apart. So I would encourage you to give it a go in your next game and let me know how it goes. With that said, it will conclude today's demo review. I hope you all enjoyed it. Again, as I always say, if you have any suggestions on the type of content you want to see in these types of videos, let me know. Like, subscribe, all that jazz. I would really appreciate it, and I'll catch you in the next one.